Welcome to Windows on the World, bringing you cutting-edge news, empowering information, and no conspiracy theories. On tonight's show. Okay, so Deborah Tavares, welcome back to Windows on the World. We're now going to talk about the document you referred to earlier, the Aquarian Group Open Operation Briefing, which is very important to what we've been talking about, and we're going to wrap up with talking about what's really affecting people with Agenda 21 and sustainable development.
Yes, thank you, Mark. I'm briefly going to cover what the Aquarius Group Operations Briefing is. I would again encourage everyone to download this document from the homepage of our website, www.stopthecrime.net. Again, it's called the Aquarius Group Operations Briefing. It is a document at the very top of the homepage. It's important to understand, again, as I was saying in one of the other segments, that the planned chemical sedation of the population has now been, by and large, accomplished. This is through the air, the water, and the food supply. Our minds then become very malleable, and then we become very suggestible to radio wave frequencies for mass mind control. Now, the Aquarius Group is a secret society. It was set up for mind control purposes. And in page 1 of that document, they say this: electromagnetic, radio wave, and microwave pulse mind warfare has great advantages in that a desired subject or population has no knowledge of the procedure being implemented. So we're talking about the cell phone towers that we're all noticing being deployed throughout our neighborhoods. In fact, here in California, the telecom industry has told us that they need either a cell tower or an antenna. They need one for every 75 homes. So we're going to be laced with frequencies for mind control. You add that to all of the wireless communication devices that all of us, sadly, have become addicted to, along with the smart meters that are in your homes and all the RFID chipped appliances that are going to very soon become required retrofits in all of our homes. We're under massive psychotronic weaponized warfare, which is frequencies interfacing with our minds.
That's absolutely true, and there is a documentary on YouTube called Resonance Beings of Frequency, which will give people a background in that if they're not aware of what's going on here. And I also talked to Ingrid Dickinson and Christina England, who researched on this. We have covered this on the show, so people who watch Windows on the World will be aware of this, but it does sound far-fetched to a lot of members of the public. But for instance, round here, they're building these kind of hive blocks of flats, and under this sustainable development, they're tiny and they're like templates. The floors are already in place, and there's 3 blocks round here. There's going to be 1,000 flats built in an already massively built up area. It's a very densely populated area. The infrastructure is going to completely be overloaded. But to back up exactly what you've just said, outside each of these new developments that are being built, there is a massive cell tower right adjacent, right outside of all where the sites for these new blocks of flats are going to be.
Well, this is where the increased high density is going to benefit the plan of the Aquarius operations briefing. And I'm going to sum it up very quickly because I know we'd like to complete the conversation on how they're going to be advancing on property theft. But they're stealing our brains and they're stealing our minds in the process of our real estate. And the Aquarius operations briefing is going to become evident as we see, again, us all being forced into what I call human settlement zones. I look at this as the Hunger Games. And what the Aquarius operations group is saying, that with the implementation of the increased chemicals and then the increased frequencies and other forms for mind control, it's going to create a basic intolerance and an inability to work with one another, and increased anger and much social disruption. They talk about how they will be able to remotely cue an individual to go out and to commit a crime, and that person will literally function as a cyborg. Now, I know that this sounds over the top to many people that may be listening, but I can assure you there are documents that will tell you everything about what is being said right now. So the Aquarius operations briefing becomes extremely important as we find we are being jammed into mixed-use, high population density zones, because they say that in order to implement greater levels of military and police control in our communities, there will be increased violence, and they are creating this increased violence remotely. This has all been planned. They are literally turning us against one another. In fact, I just want to add this. We recently discovered that there is a plan for zombie apocalypse in the Pentagon and also the Center for Disease Control. They have zombie apocalypse plans because they know that they're going to be interfacing with our minds. They're going to be creating anger and increased anxiety in our communities, along with the various types of microdust that are being dumped on us from the chemtrails and all of the toxins and poisons in our food and our water. So we are being set up on by these globalists that literally want to control it all. I look at it like this, Mark. We are unwitting and unknowingly become actors in a staged computer game where we are being forced by these controllers, possibly out of their enjoyment or for their enjoyment. Because we know that much of what the black money comes from to operate many of these horrific black budget money is from human sex trafficking, child sex trafficking, selling children for organ harvesting. Organ harvesting is a tremendous black budget income globally. We know that many children and people are used in ritualistic satanic bloodletting. And while this all sounds horrific, I assure you it is horrific on every level. So by knowing this information, you will understand, you can watch it, you will have a period of time to mentally absorb it and adjust to what we are all going to face in an increasing level. And it's really amplified. Everyone that I have spoken with that has been actively for generations getting this information out have all agreed that it is quickening at a very fast pace now. So when we talk about your private property, your real estate, your home, your businesses, your buildings, let's look at this so that you understand the next assault. It's coming. What we're seeing here in the United States and what you have in place in the UK and other parts of the world, Australia, it does not matter. Your government has implemented plans locally in your cities that require you to reduce your carbon footprint or your greenhouse gas emissions. Now, there are various deadlines. The first global deadline is by the year 2020. Now, there are different deadlines. You can type in United Kingdom, greenhouse gas reduction policies, or you can type in the name of your town, followed by greenhouse gas reduction policies. And you will find out the policies that have been implemented and the degree of reduction that they have signed you on to without your knowledge or your consent, which is, of course, based on fraudulent science. Again, it's most important to understand the governments are working on a business model. They are incorporated. Everything that they are doing is business and profit orientated. So they make money by forcing each and every single one of us, for an example, to have an in-home energy audit. This is part of the requirements to reduce your carbon footprint. Soon, very soon, if you haven't already been approached by your utility company, you will be, or you will be approached by an energy audit company. Now you can type in the name of your city. You can type in energy audit company. You will be surprised to see how many energy audit companies have already established themselves in your community.
This actually was started over here. It's called the Green Deal. It didn't really take off that quickly because it's voluntary. But as we know, these things don't stay voluntary for very long because all public buildings have had to comply with this greenhouse gas emission nonsense. But just to get back to what you were saying, every single neighborhood, borough and place in this country has its own dedicated website that you can look up, and it's called today.ws, and it's all about climate change issues, and it's a propaganda piece for the IPCC, and they're stating the IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, is a scientific intergovernmental body. Well, it's not scientific. There's nothing that they say is science. It's consensus again, and we've covered this on the show. Yeah,
that's exactly
right. It's not just, if people think that maybe, oh, it must be really bad in California. Well, no, it's just as bad everywhere, and Britain is under the cosh of Agenda 21 massively. Every single council in this country is signed up for it.
Well, I think at this moment it's very important for me to reference people to an extremely important document. It is called the Report from Iron Mountain. The Report from Iron Mountain came out in 1966. They hired experts to meet in a nuclear facility called Iron Mountain. That is why the report is called the Report from Iron Mountain. And they wanted to examine what it would look like if the United States was able to terminate war as we have known it and move into a golden age of peace. Again, this is double speak. You would think the golden age of peace as being a wonderful transition out of war. But peace is for the elite, peace from us, control of us, so that they control and manage how many of us exist and that they can enslave us further. That is their definition of peace. Again, it's all doublespeak. But the Report from Iron Mountain talks about how the major corporate structure, along with the military, would create a replacement for war. It needed to be something as critically life-threatening as war and as immediately concerning everyone's immediate comfort and existence. And they decided they would have to invent it. And they decided it would be ecology, that they would pollute the planet so that it would be universally recognized as a tipping point to continue to function on this planet, and that it would be blamed on the people. They polluted us. The corporate structure polluted us. And now we are living with corporate policies based on fraudulent science on global warming and the need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. This is all discussed in the report from Iron Mountain. Now, there is a documentary. I do encourage people to watch it. It is a documentary on the report from Iron Mountain. It was put together by a Christian group, so it does have some biblical referencing in it. It is not the report itself, but it is an important documentary because it will take you through what has happened to the planet with the intentional polluting. And it is unbelievably horrific, and all at the very same time, it's very sad. And what we have facing all of us now is the taking of our property. That's what's really behind all of this scientific misinformation and fraud. The bankers believe they have stolen everything from us fair and square. And now they are literally stripping all of our assets. And they're going after all of our private property, our homes, our businesses. And they're going to do it incrementally through environmental standards. And we will all be required to, or we will be asked to allow an in-home energy audit. Now, this is where your power comes into place. We must no longer consent. We have been consenting far too long to corporate statutes that we never voted on, we never agreed to, and we don't even know about. We have on our website, stopthecrime.net, on the quick links, it's called a government employee questionnaire. It's a 2-page questionnaire. And you can formulate this to fit your local jurisdiction. But basically, it's not confrontational. You can hand it to whomever comes to your property and says they are going to conduct a free in-home energy audit. Don't allow that to happen, because if you let this happen, the interior audit goes on to a national database, and your property is identified with whatever they find that is needing to be retrofitted. In other words, dependent on the year of your home, when it was built, how many square feet it is, and based on how many occupants you have stated live in your residence. In the United States, it's the census, and we have to state how many people live in the building.
We have a census here as well, Deborah, and there was quite a controversy built up by quite a few people who refused to fill them in, and they were all threatened that they could get it put in prison, and of course nobody really was, and it kind of fizzled out. But yes,
well, we must stop consenting, Mark, just as you said right now. We must stop filling out the forms. We must stop filling out questionnaires, the census, whatever it is. We must not comply.
This is a very important thing, Deborah, because on a lot of so-called council documents, I won a court case against my local council because they were issuing fraudulent paperwork. The judge had to agree with my position. And basically, it proved one thing. If you've got a form from a local authority or the police, it means that you do not have to fill in their paperwork if you supply information yourself. So you can cross out anything that's entrapment and brings you into some consensus, and just put what you want as the statement onto a piece of paper, and you send it back with full response attached, cross through their paperwork, and there's your response. So they can't say you failed to respond, and you've actually made the statement that you wanted to make, and anybody can do that.
And everybody must at this point. And I'm going to refer everyone to a very important book. While it is named The Great American Adventure, Secrets of America, much of what you will find out in there is likely to apply to other countries as well. Again, it's entitled The Great American Adventure, Secrets of America by retired Judge Dale. And it is a free download from stopthecrime.net on the home page. And why I am really referring to this book now is the very last segment of the book. Judge Dale had not intended to initially write, but he realized the massive corporate structure was seeping in to every aspect of our lives, and he wanted to put together ways in which we simply must not comply. And there are methods, simple methods, in which you can refuse to comply to a corporate structure that you are not a part of. The only reason that this corporate structure can continue to exist is that people believe that it is law, and it is not. And it is through the deception compounded by the refusal of ordinary people to understand how government really works that these secret governments continue to exist. And your property is at stake. Everything you own is at stake. Everything you think is going to be manipulated. We have everything on the line, and we have everything to gain by being empowered by understanding the system and not consenting. So I'm going to leave everyone with that very important reality. Most importantly, you must understand that because it is a corporate structure, everything that you are given through your local cities, through your government, that is sent to you in the mail, it's all part of an opportunity to consent. You must not sign anything without very carefully looking at it. Most of the time, it's a trap. It's a trap to get you to consent to their corporate statutes and their corporate rules and regulations. We must stop consenting, period.
That's great, Deborah Tavares. Absolutely brilliant information. And it's stuff that we cover on Windows on the World regularly. We'd love to have you back. Will you come back on the show again?
Absolutely. I look forward to that because certainly our experience here in Northern California, in an area where Rothschild has an extremely heavy influence, and an area where our climate action plans seem to have the most immediate impact with the requirements. I would love to come back, Mark, because it will be an opportunity for us to convey to everyone else what is happening here so you can prepare and withstand it. We're on the front lines, it seems, with these climate action plans and the corporate descending up into all of our homes, on our properties. This is through our wells that are on rural country properties, through our septic tanks, through the rivers and creeks and streams, even if they're seasonal. We're under attack on every single level right now. I really thank you for having me on your program.
Thanks, Deborah Tavares. Absolutely brilliant. And would recommend everyone to go to stopthecrime.net and your other websites, and we'll speak to you very soon.
Thank you so much, Mark. You take care.
Thanks for joining us on Windows on the World. Remember, keep watching those, watching us, watching Windows on the World. We'll see you soon.